Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, your home for all content Lord of the Rings home. We have the journey ahead for the back half of this year, for the last quarter of this year. So this is going to be just a short video where we go through it and then I give you sort of my perspective and thoughts on it. Let's just get started. This is written by Nick Reinhardt. It comes a few weeks sort of delayed for, I think, circumstances out of their control. And we're just going to, I think that is important context. We're going to go through it. Welcome, friends, to another The Journey Ahead with our game director in the Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth, Nick Reinhardt. Let's get into it. Hello, my friends. I'm excited to be returning to you with another Journey Ahead. We've had a pretty wild 6 months. We've launched our Mines of Moria raid, complete with the fearsome Balrog. We've released almost 3 legendary characters. They include Gandalf in that. A new glyph system, almost as well, and our first What If Shattered characters, Lord Balin and Elven brothers Orphan and Rumil. It's been jam-packed, and we've had fun entertaining you. This journey ahead will be a bit different and deviate from our usual chaptered format. Well, this edition is focused more on the immediate update release. I will largely cover some thoughts that we have about glyphs and Thorin Oakenshield. Thank you for the amazing year we've had. I cannot stress enough how happy we are to be going on this journey with you. Okay, so what that means is that I don't think we're going to get too much stuff about what is coming in the next year. They want to focus on the things that they have just released. So for glyphs, in our opinion, the glyph system is a critical part of the gameplay for this style of game. Being able to modify your collection and customize your characters provides a level of long-term strategic depth that makes these games really exciting. We've been working and thinking through this for a long time, so we're thrilled to be putting glyphs out into the wild. Personally, I'm pretty happy with the glyph system itself, especially after we got to see some of that with the dev Q&A. I have a little bit of nitpicky stuff with it, but I think overall it is a very good system. I like many of the changes that they've made and how it is different from Swigo and from Marvel Strike Force, very similar games in the same space, right? While we've given our intent along with a lot of details previously, which they did, about glyphs, there's a ton of things we want to watch and pay attention to as you all start to get your hands on the feature during your daily play. Some of the plethora of questions we have are, from a collection standpoint, how fast are the glyphs being collected and from where? Do you have enough glyphs to support your teams? Are you continuing to chase new glyphs to find those perfect ones for each of your units? How are you using the glyphs you have found? Is there a general known strategy on which glyph sets, I cannot speak today, on which glyphs, let me find my place again. How are you using the glyphs you have found? Is there a general known strategy on which glyph sets should be equipped on each character, or is there more of a strategy for full squads? Do we do a good job of making the sets matter, or are secondary stats driving more of the excitement? Finally, how well are glyphs performing when actually using them? Has the PvP meta shifted? Are certain glyph sets dominating arena? Which sets are performing best in the raid? Have these sets changed up? Which factions are the top of the raid meta per chapter? Is there a secondary stat out there that's throwing a wrench into it all? So, people, I think initially when they read these were like, shouldn't you have these all answered before you release glyphs? And I think a lot of these questions specifically have to do with player behavior, and that's not something they can simulate, right? To me, the way I'm interpreting this is these are things that they're going to specifically be paying attention to in the coming months after the release of glyphs. And I'm also maybe further reading into this that these are things that we possibly might have to tweak. And so we're looking at these things. If they don't meet our expectations, we might have to tweak these specific things to make sure that it is the way that they intended it to be, right? So for instance, how fast are glyphs being collected? In the dev Q&A about glyphs, they told us you shouldn't be worried about, you should be getting a bunch of glyphs. You should be worried about finding the perfect glyphs, but you should be getting a bunch of glyphs. And so obviously that's something that they're continuing to sort of look at. How are people choosing to get glyphs? I think is the player behavior part of that in terms of spending energy there or not. And then how are you using the glyphs you found? Obviously that is a player thing. And then I think this also kind of, Nick Reinhardt said this thing a while ago, and I cannot remember whether it was in the Reddit AMA or the Tana interview, but it's something that I often think about and stick with. And he basically said that, yeah, we do QA, but like, there are a lot more of you than there are of us, you being the players, us being the development team. And essentially, a community the community will find a way. If there's like a way to like really do something funky and crazy, the community finds a way, right? So I think that's specifically what he's talking about for these next two questions here. And basically, they're keeping an eye on that, which is good because, you know, if something does go wrong, they are, at least I'm reading into this, that they might tweak a few things. Overall, our goal is to ensure that glyphs are exciting to explore and easy for you to adopt. Hopefully, the above also gives you some insight on how we as developers evaluate our features at release and ongoing. Every time we do something to the game, we are oftentimes most excited to see how things change, and not in a surface level way, rather in the thousands of micro decisions that players make in the day-to-day live environment. I think that's a really great attitude to have, because I personally know if I was working on something like this, and then like somebody in the community figured out something that was just like completely weird and wonky and subverted all of the intentions and expectations, I would be like, oh no, not again. So I mean, this is a much more positive mindset to that. Thorn Oakenshield, our next legendary. Thorn Oakenshield is being released as our third official legendary character of the game. Again, they count Gandalf as one, I think just because of the star requirement to unlock him. We've been striving to make sure each faction is released with powerful characters that work together with strong thematic gameplay that is fun to use. Elrond gives that timeless, immortal feeling to the elves. Yes, he does. Gandalf gives players the ability to choose when to use that epic sacrificial finisher. With Thorn, we are expecting the same kind of unique gameplay through the use of his stubbornness of dwarves. The feeling of finding that one target and never wavering in your resolve. I really like that. In addition, we wanted to really nail that feeling of Thorn's company, just as they're setting out from the Shire. All of Thorn's company have been moved to the bag end in their collection screens so that they can celebrate the start of their journey together. I like that. That is a nice personal touch. Personally, I think Bilbo's unlock is my favorite, with the dwarves knocking over his precious plates. You'll see what I mean in your game soon. So I want to stop there. I think people are assuming that it's not going to be a marquee. I think it's already been confirmed that it's going to be a marquee. And then Nick is specifically talking about the sort of dialogue sections in the marquee itself. I'll also make a personal recommendation that you look out for Bomber and his kit. He's a pretty sleepy guy, and we've gone out of our way to really elevate that. That is a hint that I will circle back to. I'd be remiss if I also didn't give a note about Thorin, in that he is one of the most awesome cinematic attacks. King Under the Mountain is special too in the game, in his opinion. I disagree with you there, Nick, but I think this brings up a good point, and I do want to, when I originally gave my criticism, I don't think I maybe couched it in the right way, which is, I don't think what they did is lazy or anything like that. I know they put a lot of time and effort into this stuff, but with what they were attempting, it didn't work for me. So yes, in my opinion, it is not the most awesome cinematic attack. For me, that is either Gandalf's Fireball or Elrond's Wave. We hope that we continue to straddle that amazing line that is literary tradition of the books, a mix of the humor and grim realities that our heroes must face. We can't wait to see what you do with all these incredible heroes. So let's circle back to what they mean with Bomber. I think that this could be an interesting new Bane that gets added if he can inflict some sort of sleep Bane, right? Where it's kind of like a stun, but you know, like most other RPG games that have like a sleep debuff, if you hit the person with the sleep debuff, then they obviously come out of that. Otherwise, they skip their next turn. That's very, very powerful, especially for a team that is pretty much solely dedicated on a single target. So if you don't have like AoE on your team, which I don't expect you will with Thorn's company because it goes against everything in his kit basically, then sleep is going to be a very, very powerful Bane. I'm very curious to see how that works. As of right now, my guess is it'll work on the Cave Troll, won't work on the Balrog when they update that. But again, that's all speculation, but that's pretty cool. I would like to see that. The holidays. Part of the brevity of this journey ahead, and my lateness, is that the holiday period. Now, we aren't turning off the lights and leaving the one laptop in sleep mode. This is an inside joke. Not an inside joke, it is an outside joke now. But one you maybe aren't aware of, it comes from the Swiggo days. It is a crazy compacted time for game makers everywhere, not just us, trying to get our releases in for the end of the year so that we can make sure that we run smoothly and don't break when you are trying to enjoy the game during your holidays. That said, we will be monitoring, but don't expect any major news from us through the rest of the month, unless something breaks, and in which case we will be on site and handy. All that said, whatever your location and traditions, we hope that this December treats you and yours most kindly. I cannot continue to stress how lucky we count ourselves to be able to be a part of your lives and how thankful we are that you play our game. Thank you for being a great community. We will see you in the new years. In the new year. Well, yeah, happy holidays to the CG Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth team as well. This is a nice little thing to put at the end there. I think that is nice. I think people reading this, I mean, I know because I read Discord before I recorded this video. People are really disappointed with this journey ahead. They do say at the beginning that it is sort of a different version of this. How I feel about it is that there are parts from each of these that I really like. So I really like that I am interpreting this glyph section as we are going to continue to monitor it and make sure that we tweak it and it's not just let it loose in the world and, you know, that's the end of it. I think that this is a good sign. It's something they obviously should be doing, but I'm glad to see that they are sort of voicing that and communicating that. Again, at least how I'm interpreting it. Yeah, I like that he spelled out how Thorin is different than Gandalf and Elrond in that way, and them trying to kind of peg down that unique gameplay for that legendary, as well as the little personal touch of putting everybody in bag end. Personal thematic touch maybe is the better way to say it. Yeah, so I think I'm not as upset as some of the people I saw on Discord, I will say, but I would have liked maybe a hint or two at what is coming next. I know that at the beginning, yes, he said this is going to be a different journey ahead. I do think it would have been nice, maybe not something completely fleshed out, but something to get us excited for the New Year's. I hope that at the beginning of next year, maybe I think they've been on crunch time for the last few months, so hopefully they get some rest, but in the beginning of the new year, ready, refreshed, and we can get that info and get people excited about it. The no major news portion of the article, that makes me wonder. We know glyphs are coming today. They will be pushed out. The update will go live. I guess unless something really, really breaks. But they're working on some fixes, I think, especially for Chapter 3, which was broken with if you updated the game. But I think glyphs will get pushed live either today or sometime this week. So I don't know if that means that this also will be like the last patch for the year, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. So are we also going to get Bomber in-game, and are we also going to get Bilbo in-game, or are we going to see some minor patch stuff towards the end of the year when, you know, before those marquees start? I'm not sure. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I think it's fine. I think I really would have liked to have just like one piece of information about what's coming in the next year, something that they've kind of know that they're starting to work on, even if it's really just a teaser. And I know you don't want to commit to something for the new year, but you maybe talk about multi-squad PvP, which you've already sort of talked about in other places. I'm not sure. But yeah, let me know what you think. Yeah, I guess I'm just in a not sure sort of, not the best, but I'm not as mad as other people. We'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.